Now, what are the enemies of cohesion and high performance? It's important for us to know what's working against us as we try to bring a group of individuals together into a team. And then once we have established what that looks like, what will be kind of those obstacles or those barriers, then we can figure out ways to remove them. And that's what we'll be getting into a little bit later in the module as well. So what are those enemies? What are things that actually drive team members apart or don't bring a team together maybe like we need it to in a high-risk environment? This comes from some fantastic work done by a gentleman by the name of Patrick Lencioni. And he authored The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Tremendously valuable resource. And in fact, if you check one of our pages, daryldblack.com//resources. That book is available along with a whole bunch of other books as well and resources for our journey here together. But you'll find that 5 Dysfunctions of a Team available there, as well as some other work that Patrick Lencioni did. And we'll be referring to Mr. Lencioni a little bit later as well in some more work. So, what are some causes of dysfunction amongst a team? 1, absence of trust. This cannot be overstated, how important it is to make sure that trust has been established in a team. And a team that doesn't trust one another, team members that don't trust, is maybe a collection of individuals working towards a common goal, but it is absolutely not a team. In emergency services, trust is critical. It's absolutely critical. If I don't trust my crew member, my teammate, all of those things, stress goes up, jobs don't get done, all sorts of things. So maybe it's a team that's absent of trust. It doesn't have the trust amongst its team. That's a big problem. That is number 1, dysfunction. Number 2, the fear of conflict. So the desire to preserve artificial harmony stifles the occurrence of productive discussions. So here we had the fear of being vulnerable. Here we have the fear of conflict. And what's really interesting is that, and we've talked about it in decision making, where actually groupthink can certainly start to creep into a team. But it's also the fact that a team that doesn't have healthy discourse is a team that's not actually advancing the plan very well. Maybe it is now going to be prone to making more mistakes. And people are actually just trying to stay in the gray and they don't want to rock the boat, when maybe they actually have some excellent input into the operational plan or how to tackle a particular problem. And also, personality conflicts come into this as well. And so it's very, very important to recognize that the fear of conflict, while maybe from a society perspective is sometimes okay, that's okay, I'm not going to rock the boat here, I'm just gonna let this one go. Well, that is not always the best case, particularly in high-risk environments like the ones that we operate in. So, absence of trust. Number 2, fear of conflict. Those are 2 dysfunctions. Let's get into a few more. Lack of commitment. So it's the lack of clarity or buy-in which prevents team members from making decisions that they will stick to. So in other words, they're just not buying in. They're not picking up what you're putting down. They're not reading your mail. They're not whatever you're talking, whatever cliche you want to use. They're just not into it. And from an emergency services perspective, we need every single team member, every member on our crew, every teammate to be all in. It's really, really important. So if they don't have that commitment, their performance will be lackluster at best. They'll be maybe disengaging, and worst case, they'll be unsafe for themselves, but also for the team. And they're not going to be working with you, trying to get your overall mission achieved. Avoidance of accountability is another one, where the need to avoid interpersonal discomfort prevents team members from holding one another accountable. So it kind of goes back into the fear of conflict, doesn't it? Where, he's a teammate, he's a peer, he's a friend of mine, something like that, and I kind of don't want to call him out on it, call her out on it. I'll just let it go. It was not a big deal. Well, what happens is eventually that becomes part of your culture, and now we're not holding each other accountable, which is really, really important. So that is dysfunction number 4. Number 5 is inattention to results. The pursuit of individual goals and personal status erodes the focus on the collective success of the team. So this is essentially saying that it's about me, not about we, where the results of the team meeting the mission, doing our, completing our objectives, that's not what right looks like. What right looks like is me as an individual performing to my highest level, and really could be at the detriment or cost of the rest of the team. All right, so let's go back and just review those. Number 1, dysfunction, absence of trust. Number 2, fear of conflict is another dysfunction of a team. Number 3, lack of commitment. Number 4, avoidance of accountability. And number 5, inattention to results. So those are the 5 horsemen, I guess, that are working against you as you're maybe a leader, or maybe you're a sub-leader or something like that, or maybe you're a teammate. Watch for these 5 things. And if you've ever been part of a team that just wasn't very effective and there's a lot of issues with it, well, take a look, and I can promise you that one or more of these dysfunctional elements were at play there. So spend some time thinking about that, because those are the enemies of team cohesion. And these are the enemies that we have to figure out how to deal with so we can have a team that's cohesive, it's adaptable, and it's resilient.